Greetings, dear listeners. Welcome back to another enthralling episode of Oliver the Time Traveler. Today, we're diving right back into the story, where Oliver, Isabella, Nikos, and Sophia find themselves basking under the glorious Greek sun, in a tranquil garden, to discuss their complex plans for the future. So, without further ado, let's rejoin them and continue our journey. With a smile, Oliver responds to Nikos' inviting question. I would love to come and live here with you and Sophia, I guess. And I think Isabella would also like the idea of having a house over here. It's a great idea, but we must keep it for the future. Isabella and I want to continue our mission of tracing all the people who are caught in time. We're curious to discover where and when those people are, and help them find their way. Oliver continues. Nikos, the watch was probably activated during the car crash while you were in the midst of that race. It seems to have a knack for getting involved in special moments. Nikos furrows his brow, pondering the unusual circumstances. It's strange indeed, he admits, that I wore the watch during the crash, but then found myself here in Greece, still dressed in my racing attire, and yet without the watch. Oliver, offering his own thoughts, says, Nikos, during the crash, anything could have happened. It's quite possible, as you were flung out of the car, the watch might have been dislodged from your arm or gotten stuck somewhere in the wreckage. And that someone else later found it. Nikos's eyes twinkle with nostalgia as he leans back in his chair and begins to share his story. You see, he says with a warm chuckle, when I got this watch I thought it'd bring me good luck. And let me tell you, after ending up here in Greece with Sophia by my side, I now consider myself the luckiest person in the world. This beautiful place, this wonderful life, it's like a dream come true. Sophia, looking at Nikos with a smile, turns her attention to Oliver and Isabella and asks, So, what do you two usually do during your days in your time? Isabella says with enthusiasm in her voice, Well, I've been completely engrossed in my studies, especially when it comes to ancient things like Greek temples. There's something incredibly fascinating about exploring the history and architecture of these ancient sites. Sophia raises her eyebrows and offers a warm smile as she responds. It's interesting to hear you're passionate about ancient temples, but you'll find that the temples and buildings around here are quite modern, not ancient at all. Oliver smiles in response, and Sophia continues. You know, since you've come all this way, why don't you stay with us tonight? Tomorrow, I'd be delighted to show you around Olympia. It's a beautiful place with so much to explore. Oliver leans forward, his eyes filled with enthusiasm, as he explains. You see, I study geography, and during a visit to the library in my time, I stumbled upon a remarkable device, the watch. It took me on an extraordinary journey, one that opened my eyes to the wonders of time travel. After a few travels, I was fortunate to meet Galileo, who taught me how the watch exactly works. That must have been around the year 1640 after Christ. Reflecting on his early experiences, Oliver continues, At first, I felt rather uncomfortable, traveling without knowing where the watch would take me. But over time, I've gained more confidence and control. Now, my mission is to ease my mind by finding all the watchers who are lost in time. And that's when I met Isabella during one of my early searches. With a sense of intrigue, Sophia asks, You see, this is the year 1, the first time the Olympics are being held in honor of Zeus. I'm quite curious, how many years ahead is the year 1640 after Christ from our time? Isabella kindly responds to Sophia. In the calendar from where Oliver, Nikos, and I come from, we're currently in the year 776 before Christ. If we add 776 to 1640, it amounts to 2,416 years, which is the time in years from here when Oliver met Galileo. Amazing, isn't it? And Isabella adds, I met Oliver in the year 1574 after Christ in Leiden, which is approximately 2,350 years from this point. Nikos, filled with astonishment, refills the glasses once more and exclaims, I can't believe all of this is happening because of that watch. Oliver nods and replies, You haven't seen the best part yet, but we'll have to wait until everyone's inside the house. I have to be cautious, I can't afford to make a mistake and lose any of the items I'm carrying. Oliver continues and says, I hear about the first Olympics in honor of Zeus. I've met Zeus, but I must admit, I'm more cautious around him. I find Hera, his wife, to be more approachable and pleasant. She was rather cross with Zeus when I encountered them. Sophia is utterly astonished as she listens to Oliver's revelation about meeting Zeus and Hera. Her eyes widen, and Sophia asks, You've met Zeus? Sophia faces Oliver, her eyes filled with curiosity and a hint of skepticism. She leans in a little closer, her voice carrying a touch of incredulity as she asks again. Oliver, have you really met Zeus and Hera? Oliver nods and replies. Yes, absolutely. I've not only met Zeus and Hera but also his brother Poseidon. Sophia's eyes begin to sparkle with fascination, captivated by this incredible tale Oliver is telling them. Sophia leans forward a bit and asks, Oliver, can you describe what Hera looked like when you met her? What was she wearing? Her eyes sparkle with fascination. Oliver smiles warmly in response to Sophia's question and begins to describe his encounter with Hera. Hera, he says, was adorned in the most exquisite attire I had ever seen. She wore a resplendent gown that seemed to shimmer with divine radiance. Upon her head, she had a magnificent tiara that gleamed like the stars in the night sky. Oliver's eyes light up as he reminisces. Her hair, he continues, was a cascading waterfall of golden locks, and her presence exuded grace and kindness. She was truly a vision of elegance and beauty. And like I said, Hera was very friendly with me and cross at Zeus. I wonder how she is doing now. Nikos then asks with excitement. Is it true that Poseidon wields a mighty trident? He asks, his eyes filled with curiosity. Nikos then adds, I have a splendid idea for how we can spend the rest of the afternoon. We have plenty of room in the house for guests, and it's not a problem at all if you'd like to spend the night. We can have a wonderful evening with good food and good company. Nikos leans forward, his curiosity getting the better of him. I must admit, I'm very curious about the workings of that watch, he says, nodding toward Oliver's wrist. But I understand it might be best to save that discussion for later when we're all indoors and comfortable. With a friendly smile, he continues. In the meantime, how about we take a quick walk to the market? It's always bustling with activity, and you can get a taste of the local culture. Isabella glances happily and says, That is a great idea. Oliver, shall we do that? I love the idea to stroll over the market and have a look in the village. Oliver replies by saying, It's a great idea, I also would like to have a look in the village and maybe see the temple of Zeus. And I must admit, I do have the time. And bursts out in laughter. They all must laugh until the tears are rolling down their cheeks. Then, Nikos finally nods in agreement, wiping the tears from laughter from his eyes, and says, I'll fetch some breads from the house, just in case you want to exchange them for something interesting at the market. You see, there's no currency as you know it here, we rely on bartering and swapping goods. With a warm smile, he heads into the house to grab the bread, and then returns with a basket of freshly baked bread and continues. Sophia and we own a bakery here, and we make our living by baking bread. It's one of the staples in our community, and we're quite proud of our bread. We do have the best breads Olympia has to offer. Sophia nods in agreement and says, You're absolutely right about the bread. But when we want to go and enjoy the market and the sights of Olympia properly, it's best to blend in properly. We have some clothing that should help you both fit in seamlessly. The linen that you are wearing is beautifully made, I can see that, she says. But it looks too odd, and is definitely not from around here. Isabella, come with me for a moment, then Nikos will take care of the clothes for Oliver, or should I say Isabella and Oliverios, she says with a smile. After a few moments, they all step outside, now impeccably dressed in Greek attire for the occasion. Oliver admires Isabella's appearance and compliments her, saying, You look great as a Greek goddess. Isabella smiles and replies, "This is what I've always dreamt of. I'm ready to dive into Olympia." Nikos carefully locks the door of the house, ensuring everything is secure before they start walking to Olympia. The bright Greek sun casts a warm glow over the picturesque road ahead as they make their way towards the ancient city. Nikos explains, "Everything around here is centered on the gods and sports. Olympia is a place where both worship and athleticism thrive." As the group enters Olympia, they find themselves overwhelmed by the sheer grandeur of the ancient site. The sprawling complex stretches out before them, with magnificent structures and monuments dotting the landscape. The air is filled with an aura of history, reverence, and excitement. Oliver and Isabella stand in awe, not knowing where to look first. Everywhere they turn, there's something fascinating to behold, from intricately carved statues to the well-preserved ruins of ancient buildings. Sophia, with a warm smile, takes the lead and says, "Let's begin our journey at the Temple of Zeus. You'll be truly impressed by its splendor and significance." Her voice holds a hint of excitement as she leads the way. The group makes its way to the heart of the village, where the majestic Temple of Zeus looms before them. Its grandeur is beyond words, and they all stand in silent awe, absorbing the energy and history that radiate from the ancient structure. Sophia gently breaks the silence, saying, "Come, let's go inside. We are allowed to visit." They step through the massive entrance, strolling through the great halls adorned with remarkable artwork and inscriptions that tell tales of ancient glory. Finally, they find themselves in front of an awe-inspiring 40-foot statue of Zeus. It's a sight to behold, covered in gold and diamonds that shimmer and sparkle. The details and craftsmanship are astonishing, making it seem as though the god himself might come to life at any moment. As they stand in amazement, Sophia leans in closer to Oliver and asks in a hushed tone, "And does he look the same?" Oliver gazes up at the magnificent statue of Zeus, the god of thunder and lightning. His eyes take in the details of the god's imposing figure, complete with a flowing beard and a mighty lightning bolt in his hand. After a moment of contemplation, he turns to Sophia and responds, "He looks pretty much the same, with that beard and the lightning in his hands." With a thoughtful expression, he continues, "I once found myself on a ship, sailing through a treacherous storm, with a doomed Dutch captain. The captain and Zeus knew each other and seemed to recognize the watch I possessed, and I felt uncomfortable. So, I used the power of the watch to quickly make my way out of that time. But seeing this statue is truly impressive." Sophia continues, her voice a hushed tone, as she shares a piece of intriguing information with Oliver. "This part of the temple will be closed off soon. You see, next week, the first Olympics will be held here in Olympia. But there's a catch," she says with a wry smile. "No women are allowed to watch." Oliver raises an eyebrow in surprise and curiosity. "No women at all?" he asks. Sophia nods. "That's right. These are the rules that are made," she continues. "As for the sports, from what I know, it's primarily about running, foot races, to be precise. It's a celebration of physical prowess and competition, and the runners will race in honor of Zeus." Oliver listens intently, his interest piqued by the mention of the upcoming Olympic Games. The thought of witnessing this historic event adds a new layer of excitement to their journey through time. Dear listeners, as our time travelers stand in awe before the magnificent statue of Zeus, we'll take a pause here in ancient Olympia. The upcoming Olympics, a forbidden spectacle for women, promises a unique twist to their adventure. We encourage you to explore earlier episodes of Oliver the Time Traveler, and hope you enjoyed this one, and that you'll join us again soon for the next thrilling journey through time where Oliver tests the boundaries of time with Isabella on his side. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our tales with fellow enthusiasts. Thank you for listening, and until next time.